Hey everyone, I am the great and powerful Cheese Fry, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh thing because I just can't get enough. Today we are opening the Order of the Spellcasters structure deck. This is actually the day that it released, and I decided, you know what, fuck it, it's my birthday. Let's fucking get 3 of them. So I'll be opening up one of these, and then I'll be building a deck with just these, and then I will be building a separate deck that I will actually be taking to my locals, my very first locals, this upcoming Thursday, and I'll have a video outlining how that goes. So I'm just going to need one of these, and let's get started. If I burp a couple of times during this, I hope I am smart enough to edit this out, or edit it out, because it is very unbecoming of a YouTuber, especially an up-and-coming YouTuber like myself, to belch while on camera. So, you know what? Hold on. Let's actually open it on screen. Let's zoom in even more. Make sure I'm better. All right, so in one Order of the Spellcasters structure deck, you get all of this beautiful things. You get the deck, obviously. You know what? I'm gonna leave this off to the side so that if I zoom out, you can still see it. You get your deck. You get your paper playmat, which I'm liking, and you get your beginner's guide, because structure decks do not come with the rule book anymore, because that thing is like the frickin' Silmarillion in how detailed it is. But what I do very much enjoy is how the starter kit, the starter manuals, do not actually go over the zones like the old ones do. In fact, I may still have an old one sitting around somewhere. If I can find it, I'll include it in the next video, maybe. But yeah, it goes over the types of cards, it goes over what you can do, what each card does, but it doesn't include anything about... Oh, wait, there it is, it's after the centerfold. Never mind. Ignore that last bit. All right, let's zoom out a little way so we can see more of my beautiful, beautiful wooden table. Let's move that better into frame. I didn't have my camera very well centered, or I didn't have my table very well centered, one or the other. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and unfold this. Oh, I love these paper mats. I know they're trash. I wish that there were like deluxe editions of these structure decks that had the neoprene versions of these, like what came in oh my gosh, what were they called? What was that set called? The drafting set. DZF absolutely loves them. I absolutely loves the third one, and I can't remember what it's called now. What that series of products was called. Alright, so you have, well, shoot. Alright, and it looks like my battery's about to die, so I'm going to swap my battery out, and then we're going to continue on with the opening. Alright, well, it turns out that I actually have 2 batteries that are dead, not just the one. So, let that be a lesson to you kids. Charge your fucking batteries before you record anything. Okay, but let us begin. So I showed you already what came in the pack, or what came in the box. So now we shall review the deck itself. In fact, I'm actually going to stay lower down, and I'm just going to zoom way the fuck in, and we're going to fix the focus, I think. There we go. That's good. Okay, now I'm actually used to things like this in the shrink wrap having that pull tab but it looks like I just pull from back here. I wonder when they stopped doing that. It's been a while. I think, okay, so the last one that I opened was, or the last structure deck that I bought was Soulburner. So I do have Salamangrates, and it did close the same way, although that was way easier to open than this. What the hell? Okay, there we go. Okay, that's actually not entirely true. The last decks that I bought, the very last decks that I bought were the Yugi and Kaiba structure deck reloaded, and those were easier. So on the bottom you've got your ad card for Legacy of the Duelist, which comes, I guess it's a Switch exclusive, which is unfortunate. I guess I have many a reason to purchase a Nintendo Switch. But there's that card. Hopefully they can port that to PC. I know for a fact that I am not alone in that sentiment. And then of course your Duel Links advertisement card. I could not get into Duel Links. I tried. I will say that. I tried. And that was when GX was had just been added in. It's been a while. I haven't played now that they've added synchros in, but honestly, I'm not interested in doing that. There's just something about Duel Links that does not jive with me very well. Maybe it's because it's online only and I'm not a huge fan of that kind of gameplay. Oh man, this rarity looks great because they even have the pendulum markers as hollow. Oh yeah, you can see it really well there. Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Endymion, the mighty master of magic. I really wish that they had kept his Japanese name, the what was it? The mighty magician supreme or something like that. But you know, mighty master of magic, whatever. So you have Endymion, our boss monster. You have Reflection of Endymion. Let's see, Pendulum, or Scale 2, 1852, 2700 level, that looks like 7 to me. Each time a spell card is activated, place a spell counter on this card. When the spell resolves, you can remove 3 counters from this card, special summon both this card from your Pendulum zone and 1 monster from your hand. So I think that's something that a lot of these new Endymion cards have in common, because Endymion can special summon himself from Pendulum. Although it looks like Endymion himself does not add spell counters to himself while he's in the Pendulum zone. You'll have to have a different way of doing that, or you use Citadel. So there's that. Then you have Reflection, Spell Power Mastery, which I believe is the Rhoda. Add an Endymion card from your deck to your hand, then count the number of Spell Power Mastery and Spell Power Grasp in the graveyard. Place that many spell counters among cards that you control that you can place a spell counter on. You can only activate 1 per turn. That's pretty tight. That's pretty tight, and I like that art too. I like that art a lot. I wish my camera would tell me what the time was on it, but unfortunately, because I don't have a actual video camera, I'm using my DSLR photography camera with a lavalier mic plugged in, so it's a little odd. Dwimmered Path, that's adding a spellcaster effect monster from grave back to hand. I don't see a whole lot of use of that. I did play Pendulum Magicians back when Joker was legal, back when Double Iris was legal, and if I had the choice between this and Wavering Eyes, even today I think I'd play Wavering Eyes. In fact, I regret not playing Wavering Eyes, but that's because my play group when I was in college did not play. I was the only one that played Pendulum, so I didn't have any use for it. I could just use Twin Twisters and have the same effect essentially. But Dwimmered Path, Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior. A little reference to Breaker, which is one of my favorite spellcasters. In fact, I had a deck that was basically just spellcasters, and Breaker was among one of the better cards in it. So he is Spellcaster Link, bottom left, bottom right. If this card is Link Summon, place a spell counter on it. Gains 300 attack for each spell counter on it. So this is very similar to original Breaker. If this card is Link, you can only activate each of the following effects of Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior, once per turn. So hard once per turn, only one and once per turn. If a spellcaster monsters is special summoned to a zone this card points to, place a spell counter on this card. Or you can remove 2 spell counters on this card and then target a card and destroy it. So that's alright, I suppose. It's spell counters. It's spell counters on the field, which is probably a decent thing. I'm considering running 2 of these along with a few other cards. I actually do own a copy of Electromite, so it'll be probably 2 of him, 1 of Electromite, so on and so forth. Moving on to the commons of the deck, you have Magister of Endymion. He is the one that can special summon himself and a card from Face Up Extra. So you need to have your links already played, or you play it to the extra monster zone and then use it to link off. Speaking of which, I'm a little unsure about the rules of pendulum monsters being used as material. It is my understanding, or at least this is how I played it, that anytime a pendulum monster would normally be sent to the graveyard, it would be, or from the field to the graveyard, it's sent to the Face Up Extra instead. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that also includes being used as link, fusion, or synchro material. But please correct me if I'm wrong on that. Servant of Endymion, I am offended that they only included 1 of these. I actually originally was planning on just buying the cards that I wanted outright instead of buying 3 of the deck. However, I decided against that because I could not find anywhere to pre-order a playset of Servant, so I went ahead and just bought it myself. Then you get the original Master Magician from Spellcasters Command. The original version of this. Also included in that deck was Crusader of Endymion. Then you have Defender the Magical Knight. If this card is normal summon, place a spell counter on it, max 1. Once per turn, if a spellcaster monsters on the field would be destroyed, you can remove a spell counter from your field for each of those monsters instead. So not just Defender, or not just the spell counter on Defender, but anywhere on the field. That's alright, but I think there's probably better protections in the deck now. Mythical Beast Kerberos, Mythical Beast Medusa. It is my understanding that these 2 cards are not included in most competitive builds of this deck. I believe they were probably included in the structure deck because regular Cerberus can hold spell counters. And I think, yeah, Medusa's the same. Medusa can hold spell counters. Magical Something. I was seriously, I don't know what I was expecting. I saw a lot of deck openings. I was just really hoping that that was not the actual name of this card. But he's also another card that can hold spell counters, it looks like. This card's level is increased by the number of spell counters on it. You can remove 3 spell counters from this card, then target 1 quick play spell in your graveyard, set that card to your spell and trap card zone. Ooh. I may have actually been able to use this back in the day for my original build of Pendulum Magicians, just as Spell Trap Recursion, because I only ran the Pendulum Graphs as one-ofs. So if any of them got nuked, I would not have a way to recover them. But with this, I would have. I probably would have played this as another one, maybe two of, just to protect the Pendulum Graphs. I don't know. Magical Exemplar, Magical Abductor. I believe these are also cards that can hold spell counters, and that plays into Endymion's effect because he can pop cards based on how many cards you control that can hold spell counters. So I think that's why these were included, just because they can hold spell counters. Same thing with Disenchanter. Once per turn, you can target one face-up spell in the field, remove one spell counter from it, or from anywhere on the field, and if you do, return that target to the hand. So actually, Disenchanter is not a card that can hold spell counters, and also it's level 5. So I can kind of guess why it's here, but with it being level 5, I would not actually. Okay, so we just experienced a strange cut, and that is probably because, once again, I'm not using a video camera. I am using my Canon DSLR, my Rebel T3i, and it has issues with file sizes bigger than 4 gigabytes. So, yay. But Apprentice Magician, I'm going to kind of rush through this because this is kind of going long. Apprentice Magician, Demok, which this is weird seeing a card like this that was so rare and so expensive before be printed without foil. Very strange to me. Fairy Tale Luna, a single Summoner Monk, Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. I hear a lot of people refer to him as Blue Boy. So if this card is normal summoned or flip face up, add a Spellbook spell from your deck to your hand. That's interesting. So he tutors out spellbooks, and I guess that's good. Oh, that's good in this deck because spellbooks are just spell cards that you can play outright to build up your spell counters. Interesting. Okay. Magical Undertaker. Flip. Target a level 4 or lower spellcaster monster in the graveyard, then special summon it. Again, I don't see the utility in that in a pendulum-based deck. I guess because there's so many other non-pendulum cards in this deck. Magician of Faith adds a spell card from grave back to hand. I can't see that being good, but anyway. And then, of course, the money card. This is, at the time of recording this version of this card is $6. And that's why I decided to buy 3x the structure deck instead of building everything outright. Because I can pay, you know, twice as much and get most of the cards I need, compared to just getting 3 Droll and Lockbird for $18. Endymion's Lab treats itself as this card, the Magical Citadel, while it's in the Spell and Trap card zone. Spell Power Grasp comes with 2 of them. Another card that's weird and common. I think I'm going to go back and buy a couple of the Dark Savior versions of this, just so I can hollow out my Spell Power Grasp. Because my Spell Power Masteries are hollow, so why not have my hollow Spell Power Grasps, right? Right. Arcane Barrier, Spellbook of Secrets, Spellbook of Power, Spellbook of Wisdom. Magical Blast. Inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each spellcaster monster you control. During your draw phase, if this card is in your graveyard, before you draw, you can give up your normal draw this turn, and if you do, add this card to your hand. That is so dumb and so nutty, and I kind of want to run it as a one-of. Magical Dimension, a single terraforming. Left Arm Offering, what is that, half your life points? If you have 2 or more other cards in your hand, banish your entire hand, that's what it is. Add a spell card from your deck to hand. You cannot set spells or traps during the turn you activate this card. And to think, that was at one point good. That was at one point one of the few ways you could tutor out spell cards. Interesting. Pot of Desires. Is Pot of Desires good? Is it? I don't know. Banishing the top 10 face down? I don't know. Is it good? You tell me. I'm actually very content with having a common copy of this because I don't even have a super rare copy or secret rare copy. So I'm poor and I like the cards at common if I can only afford them at common. And if you have a problem with that, then fuck you. Mythical Bestiamorph, Pitch Black Power Stone, Extra Buck, Gagaga Shield, Magical Circle. I am actually unfamiliar with what Extra Buck does. Hold on. Each time a card is added to your extra deck, place a spell counter on this card max 3. You can send this card with 3 spell counters to the graveyard, draw 2 cards. Ah, that's interesting. So it plays kind of well with Pendulums because they're constantly being sent to the extra. I would actually play this in original, or not original, Pendulum Magicians because that's technically Pepe, but my Zark Pendulum Magicians. That would be a lot of fun because I could play this as like a 2-of and have an interesting time with that. So there we are. That is the deck opening. Let me zoom back out so you can see the wonderful, wonderful mat. So I think the cards that I'm most excited for, just because, and it's a similar reason why I was excited to get Soul Burner, was, you know, Pot of Desires, Drone Lockbeard. Soul Burner came with Gozen Match and Ash Blossom. So that was fun. As well, it's fucking Pendulum Magicians. It's Pendulum Magicians 2019, and that was my favorite deck. Besides Zealgigas Gishki. Yeah. So, and I've been. Just as a side note, I do understand that I will be having to deal a lot with spell counters. And I have found an even more elegant solution to just using regular dice. I see a lot of people, MST.TV, Tombox, he uses D6s, which, fine, use what you got. But I don't just play Yu-Gi-Oh! I also play Magic the Gathering, and a lot of their products come with, let me zoom back in, a lot of their products come with these. These are not D20s, they are spin downs. They are called spin downs because you simply spin them down to count. On a die, the faces are opposite in such a way that opposing phases or faces equal, you know, on a D20 it's 21, on a D6 it's 7. So you're sitting there, you're fiddling with it, you're trying to find the right number. No, not with a spin down. You just set it down and you spin it, and that's how you count. Very much more elegant. In fact, I actually love the fact that I have these green and blue ones because they kind of match this aesthetic. So if you're playing this deck, I personally suggest investing in spin downs. They're a little bit more expensive. They're like 50 cents each or something like that, or 10 cents each, instead of being able to pay $5 and get a whole bunch of D20s. But they're more efficient and they're faster, and you'll not have to deal with those ridiculous time rules, which I'm afraid I may have to deal with when I go to my first locals next week. So, thank you guys again for watching, and I hope y'all remember to stay cheesy.